All right, thank you very much. And I truly enjoyed the papers and the presentations made today. And I want to thank Anna, David, and Lons for additional information that they provided when I reached out for some clarification. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, I do want to provide some information with respect to my background, specifically about my day job and where I live, as I think this will help put my perspective into context for you. And although I'm passionate about pensions, I don't hold a candle or a light to Lons and his presentation. So this is the Ontario Pension Board administers the pension for the employees of the government of the province of Ontario. And so it's a public sector third-party pension administrator. And we're currently at 96% funded, but using a 3.85% real discount rate, and that funded status does keep me up at night. Yes, I am from Toronto, and this is my mayor. So in reading... Just anything I say today that you don't agree with, I've said it in a drunken stupor.
About cocaine?
So in reading the papers, I'm pleased that the discussion regarding occupational pensions continues to move away from an either-or proposition between defined benefit and defined contribution plans. There are other options, as we're hearing today, and these options can vary to suit the needs of sponsors and participants. So I came away with 6 key themes from the papers that I would like to share with you today. I'm already out of time. So starting with number 1, innovation and thought leadership. I was very pleased with the fact that all parties, government, labor, and management, recognized the need to take action, and that continuing with the status quo is not going to solve the 3 key issues that we face, which are adequacy, coverage, and sustainability. And David's paper identifies a proactive approach of the United Food Workers and its commitment to addressing these issues. Anna and Andrew highlight the solutions developed and implemented in the province of New Brunswick, and the Netherlands has been one of the first out of the gate in addressing these issues. And the takeaway for me is that the 3 can work together to be creative and collaborate to produce progressive risk share models. Now, to steal a line from David's paper, the parties in New Brunswick did not waste a crisis. Their solution was developed as these plans were in funded crisis, and the province faced unmanageable costs to cover unfunded liabilities. Another important takeaway for me was the fact that all recognized the value of maintaining elements of the DB model. Specifically, in the defined ambition paper, the authors point out that although defined ambition schemes are similar to DC plans and that both lack outside risk sponsors, an important advantage is that workers keep the employer involved as a distribution platform for occupational pensions, and which helps, in my mind, deal with investment longevity agency and market risk through pooling. Now, with the exception of the absence of the employer funding risk sponsor, these are all key features of DB plans. Risk sharing and risk pooling resonated with me, and it's the value placed on risk sharing features. Being part of a larger pool means that key risks can be shared. They are not eliminated. And specifically what stood out for me from the defined ambition paper is that longevity risk is managed in the Netherlands through annuitizing. And in the United Food Workers model, the floor benefit is paid for life. And as well in New Brunswick, the base benefit is the last to be reduced in response to a financial crisis. However, one area of concern for me is with the sponsor's role in these plans. In a pure target benefit plan, the employer sponsor cost is fixed. Contributions to the plan is the percentage of payroll, And this is the case with the Defined Ambition Plan, and Anna and Andrew highlight the many different ways that risk can be shared. I don't necessarily agree with a fixed cost approach. I like the New Brunswick model where plans can be structured to allow for some fluctuation in the contribution rates paid by plan members and plan employers or sponsors, and to help manage the economic shocks. The New Brunswick plans are required to have an explicit funding policy where that instructs board members on funding excess utilization, on how to manage funding deficits, and any contribution flexibility is managed within a very tight corridor. In essence, everybody shares the pain as well as the gain. The third theme, intergenerational equity. This is a significant issue that all three papers acknowledge the need to address it in a fair and equitable way. We all recognize the need for all cohorts to share the impact of financial and demographic shocks. That statement is not going to raise the blood pressure of anybody in this room. It's how we define fair and equitable that could put some pressure on the ticker. In my view, pensioners are the most vulnerable cohort, particularly older, lower income pensioners. It's my view that this group needs some protection from the shocks that would otherwise cause their pension income to be reduced. This is a group that cannot easily recover from shocks, and the papers all recognize that point. In the Netherlands, benefit reductions are phased in over 5 years, and the United Food Workers plans propose that the core benefit be fixed and that reductions be applied to contingent or ancillary benefits, similar in New Brunswick. In my view, a level of protection for a defined subset within the retired cohort is desirable, and this protection can be means and age tested, and I would like to see this approach maybe further explored. There are no guarantees, and I don't propose that we should have guarantees, but this has to be an acceptable and reasonable social contract for all, in my view. The fourth point that resonated with me is governance structure, and the papers presented all speak to the importance of good governance. Pension plans or retirement schemes today are highly complex and sophisticated programs that require expert professional board members or trustees to steward them through the storms that we face. The papers speak to education for board members, but don't go so far as to say that expert professional boards are a must. Appointing an expert board does not preclude these boards from being representative boards. The partners can nominate board member candidates based on a skills needs matrix that supports the long-term vision of the plan. The decisions that they have to make are too complex and impacts too significant, and the impacts are too significant to be left to a lay board with periodic education provided. I just don't think this is a workable long-term success formula. Communications becomes critical as as benefits can be reduced. In my view, there are two key messages that must resonate with members. The first is financial and demographic shocks can and will lower income in retirement, and members will need to understand how that can impact them. Second, what can or should a plan member do to mitigate the risk of reduced income in retirement? And plan members need to understand that personal savings for retirement takes on greater significance. They will need more guidance on how to achieve their retirement income goals going forward. They have to become, we were talking last year about, or a couple of years ago, about financial literacy. I think now we also have to become pension literate. I would like to hear more about the Netherlands communication experience, since they have been up and running for some years now. And I'd also like to know how the other panels feel about that communication challenge I mentioned. Last point on this part is legislative regime. A, must accommodate change, must recognize the value of contributory plans, and must understand that surpluses are fleeting, the ones that do exist. First, legislation must be less rigid and recognize and accept change it needs to permit single and multi-employer plans to convert to target, shared risk, or variable benefit plans. Second, legislation ought to support any arrangement that encourages savings for retirement, particularly occupation-sponsored plans that invite member contributions. Third, legislation must also change with the times. Surpluses are, as we've seen, can come and go, and not allowing pension plans to build a sizable reserve does not support the sustainability of pension plans. In my view, a reserve of 20 to 25% is a must. So where does that take me, or what do we want to accomplish? To me, improved coverage, income adequacy, and sustainability are the three simple issues that we should focus on. They're simple goals, and we're moving away from the mindset that says that absolute protection of accrued benefits is untouchable, and if you can't protect absolute benefits, then you shouldn't exist. In a harsh environment, we know that there are no absolutes, and we're trying. And are we trying to make things too complicated at this point? We need to keep it simple. The focus ought to be on effective governance structures, shared risk with some flexibility and contributions for members and employers, with caps establishing real limits for surplus buildup and requirements around how surplus should be spent when they do exist. And some protection for a vulnerable cohort would be an added piece as well. At the end, basically, put that in a nutshell, that's really talking about all plans being required to have an explicit funding policy in place. And what I'm proposing is not inconsistent with a model that incentivizes everyone associated with the plans to focus on the long-term health of the plan. So what I have a link here for the Government of Canada paper that was just released, a consultation paper on target benefit plans that I find is actually quite innovative, and encourage you to have a look. So having heard me speak for the last 10 minutes, you might be thinking, here's another soft Canadian, with all these proposals. Well, let me tell you that every now and again we do put our heads together and come up with some creative solutions. So thank you, and there's my contact information if anybody would like to chat further.